Right, you've seen the title of the video, you know where this is going, you know what this is about. Samoa Joe has been released once again for the second time in a year by WWE. Now, I want to start this off by telling you a story that's probably familiar to most people watching this. I was just sitting there a little while back, scrolling through my phone, just scrolling through Twitter, idly looking at people talking about Wordle or the Harry Potter cast reunion or whatever, and I see WWE start releasing people. WWE start releasing more people. WWE start releasing more people and more and more. And it just keeps coming and coming. People like Sean Rossat, top reporters, just keeping us updated on the fact that these torrents of releases just continuously happening. And the worst part about this story is, although I was talking about yesterday, I could have been talking about what feels like 15 other times in the last 2 years. This has just been this non-stop, continuous conveyor belt of just constant people losing their jobs. And it's one of those stories that has broken out of the wrestling industry. There's a lot of stuff that stays within it. A lot of stuff that means a lot to you and I, but that the normal people who don't spend their time staying up in the UK until 4 a.m. to watch Roman Reigns beat someone again, they don't hear about it. But this is one of those ones that's now starting to sprout out of it. These constant releases are being picked up by people who watch wrestling casually, know a little bit, and people who don't. Me and my girlfriend have had multiple conversations about it, and it was something she said first that really put it slightly more into perspective, because I was always really angry about it from the standpoint of a fan, someone who loves watching these people perform, someone who, you know, would happily spend time and money. Like I say, I live in the UK. I will stay up until 4 a.m. to watch WWE or AEW. I will wake up at ridiculous times to watch New Japan in the morning, right? And I was always frustrated by that angle. And I remember talking to her about it, I don't know, let's say 5 major rounds of releases ago, which was probably like last week at this point, the way WWE is going. And I said, oh, WWE have released all of those people, these people on a list of whoever it was. And she said, oh, you mean fired? And it's such a small change in terminology, but it's one of these things where we talk about it so insularly that we don't really deep sit that often. These are people who are legitimately losing their jobs at the worst time imaginable. Yeah, now, sure, the world's starting to open up a bit. I don't know, I can't talk to how it is in several other countries, but I can talk in the UK. You know, a lot of things are starting to open up. Sports events are happening again. You know, the football that I depressingly watch, you know, full stadiums, all that sort of stuff. There's stuff like that happening. But at any point, we could go back into lockdown. At any point, there's a lot of people in this country and around the world who have been impacted financially to no end negatively by the events of the last couple of years in the world, that losing their job at this time it's almost brutal. And there's no reason for it. There's no justification for it. The thing that WWE always says is, oh, it's due to budget cuts. You're more profitable than you ever have been as a company, ever. And you're telling me budget cuts are the reason why these people are losing their jobs. Samoa Joe has lost his job twice now. He's been fired twice now in the last year by WWE, you know? And the worst thing is, he's not even the only one. He's not even the only one. Spud's done it. Spud's done it twice. He got rehired the first time because he made such a heartfelt video that everyone connected with, that WWE, I don't know, they saw potential, they saw money, they felt guilty that they hired him back. He's gone again. And in fact, what I made sure to do before this video, I mean, it was a struggle. It was a struggle to just find a list of everyone released. I remember Denise Salcedo tweeted out like a notes app of just everyone who'd been released, but that was up until November last year. December, they still carried on cutting people. So I did manage to find one in the end. It's from clutchpoints.com. So shout out to them, who have a list of all released WWE superstars in 2021. Now, I know this is going to be a bit grating and boring to watch for a minute. Let's say it'll last a minute. But it illustrates the scale of this problem, the scale of the just brutality of this. All of these people lost their jobs in the middle of a once-in-a-lifetime global pandemic where they can't just really pop out and get other ones. Lars Sullivan, Christian Cage, The Big Show, Steve Cutler, Andrade Almas, Billy Kay, Peyton Royce, Samoa Joe the first time, Kalisto, Mickey James, Chelsea Green, Tucker, Bo Dallas, Mojo Rawley, William Blake, Kavita Devi, Jessamine Duke, Vanessa Bourne, Brandy Lauren, Ezra Judge, Alexander Wolf, Velveteen Dream, Daniel Bryan, Braun Strowman, Lana, Buddy Murphy, Aleister Black, Ruby Riott, Riot, Santana Garrett, Fandango, Tyler Breeze, Tony Nese, Arya Davari, August Gray, Samir Singh, Sunil Singh, Kurt Stallion, Arturo Ruas, Marina Shafir, Killian Dane, Matt Mattel, Chase Parker, Bray Wyatt, Ric Flair, Bobby Fish, Bronson Reed, Jake Atlas, Arya Sterling, Kona Reeves, Leon Ruff, Stephon Smith, Tyler Rust, Zachariah Smith, Asher Hale, Giant Zangier, Mercedes Martinez, Adam Cole, B-Fab, Ember Moon, Eva Marie, Frankie Monet, Grand Metalik, Harry Smith, Jeet Rama, Jesse Camilla, Karrion Kross, Katrina Cortez, Keith Lee, Mia Yim, Nia Jax, Oni Lorcan, Scarlett Bordeaux, Trey Baxter, Zayda Ramir, Ashante Adonis, Drake Maverick, Isaiah Swerve Scott, Jackson Riker, John Morrison, Shane Thorne, Tegan Knox, Top Dollar, Kyle O'Reilly, Jeff Hardy, Tony Storm, 85 people. And that's adds on to the list that happened yesterday of William Regal, Road Dogg, Ace Steel, Ryan Katz, Dave Kapoor, Timothy Thatcher, Scott Armstrong, Danny Burch, Hideki Suzuki, Allison Danger, George Carroll, Sarah Cummins, Gabe Sapolsky, and now Samoa Joe. All of these people have lost their jobs in just the last 12 months in WWE, have been fired. And that doesn't include all of the people from 2020, because these releases started happening at the beginning of the pandemic. Now, there was some excuse for that to some small extent. When the pandemic first hit and there was all of this uncertainty about how businesses would cope, how would the wrestling business cope? WWE don't have live events anymore, don't have crowds, this, that, and the other. There was some excuses for them going, okay, we need to just maybe trim it back a bit, because they've spent years just signing every single person in the world they can, purely to spite other companies. They didn't want AEW to rise. They didn't want New Japan to rise. So they're just going to sign as many human beings as they can to stop those companies being able to do anything with them. And now those people, some of whom who just signed new deals. I mean, you look at Hit Row, for example, who just debuted on the main roster and then are gone within a couple of weeks after just signing new deals. These people have lost their jobs. They've been fired. And there's no real justification for it. Now, the latest rounds of today and yesterday with Samoa Joe, William Regal, those people, they didn't use the excuse of budget cuts for once. According to what I've seen from Sean Ross Sapp and Meltzer and Brian Alvarez and people like that, it's purely just the change of hands and Vince McMahon taking over NXT and just completely and utterly gutting that developmental system for what it's worth. And I guess when you look at someone like William Regal, who for the most part, he was coaching at WWE and was a scout and then was an on-screen talent from time to time. He was scouting indie talents. We've all seen that incredible picture of, I think, from Bloodsport, where Moxley sat next to him. He sat there looking like an evil genius. When you change your style to go, okay, we no longer want any indie guys, we're only going to get post-collegiate athletes, essentially, then I guess you don't need those people. But you're telling me a company as big as WWE who want to train as many of these people from scratch as possible, there's an argument to be said that the indie people, they needed the least amount of training, because at least they've been doing it for 10 plus years on the indie circuit. You're looking at all of these random post-collegiate athletes, and this is nothing against them, by the way. You're telling me William Regal, Road Dogg, Ace Steel, Timothy Thatcher, Scott Armstrong, Danny Burch, Suzuki, people like this, Allison Danger, who was doing it for the women's division. Apparently they don't even have a women's coach anymore. You're telling me these people wouldn't have a role to play in a company that size, who want to produce these talents from scratch? It's madness to me. It's madness. And unlike when, I don't know, pick any of the top tier names from before. Bray Wyatt, right? Unlike Bray Wyatt, who when he gets released, everyone can start fantasy booking. Oh, he turns up in AEW, he turns up at New Japan and all these things. And there's an element of excitement about it, despite the fact it's horrendous that they lose their jobs. There's an element of, oh my God, we get to see these people unleashed, untethered, unfettered by the creative process of WWE. A lot of these people are coaches. And that's not to say there aren't coach roles out there. Of course there are. Samoa Joe, I don't know if he's still able to wrestle. He obviously had the injury, all of that other stuff, but at least he will end up somewhere. William Regal will end up somewhere. These people have lost probably the biggest job they're ever going to have in their lives to some extent, some of them. And it's because of a stupid war that Vince McMahon shouldn't have got into, but he only did it out of pride because he's dumb. And then he fires them because AEW began to exist. And at some point, he's going to sell this company probably for billions of pounds while these people get fired in the middle of a global pandemic. And to end this off, Denise Salcedo, she was the first person I saw tweet about the Samoa Joe thing. And she tweeted out just the timeline, the absolute madness of it. the insanity of the Samoa Joe situation. And I want to end it with this because I just think it shows how unbelievably uncoordinated that company is, how the right hand doesn't know what the left hand's doing. The one finger on the right hand doesn't know what another finger on the right hand's doing. The company doesn't know what's going on at all, ever. It's just surviving day to day. And that comes across in the product. You see it. You know, Drew McIntyre gets injured, Roman Reigns gets COVID, and all of a sudden you have no clue what they're doing for the next foreseeable future. It's incredibly obvious in front of us. It makes it worse for us as well. But I just wanted to end on this because I think it's just so emblematic of everything. Samoa Joe was first released back in April 2021. He was then brought back as an NXT enforcer. In August, he defeated Karrion Kross at NXT TakeOver 36 to become the NXT champion for the third time. In September, he relinquished the title, and in January, he's released from WWE once more. Now, the other piece of information is the guy that he defeated, Karrion Kross, he got moved to the main roster because he was so over and was the next big thing and was everything perfect for Vince McMahon. He's also been fired in the meantime. What else is there to say? What else is there to say? This company is broken. You cannot run a company like this, not just because you won't make money. They're just going to keep, to quote CM Punk, they're just going to keep making money to despite themselves. Whatever. You can't keep running a company like this because there's the people involved in the heart of it, the core of it, the employees. And they are employees, not independent contractors. The employees are the ones who suffer for the stupid ideas and movements and ill communication and terrible management of Vince McMahon. And it's now of all times is the most unfair it could be.